Have you ever paused even for a single quiet breath and wondered why some people seem to live with an unshakable sense of clarity and peace, while others, despite success, wealth, or recognition, feel restless and incomplete? Beneath the noise of modern life, this question echoes in every human heart. What is the secret to living a truly meaningful life? Not a life that merely looks successful from the outside, but one that feels whole, grounded, and deeply alive from within. For centuries, monks have explored this very question, not in lecture halls or corporate boardrooms, but in silence, discipline, and careful observation of the mind. They are not removed from life. Rather, they study life at its most fundamental level. While the world races forward, monks step inward. And in doing so, they uncover principles that remain timeless, even in an age of constant stimulation and distraction. At first glance, monastic life may seem irrelevant to the modern world. Robes, rituals, silence, what could these possibly offer someone navigating deadlines, relationships, ambitions, and uncertainty? Yet history tells a different story. Many of the world's most influential thinkers, leaders, and creators have turned toward contemplative wisdom to refine their minds and deepen their lives. They recognize something essential: mastery of the outer world begins with mastery of the inner one. Monks have spent generations training attention, strengthening resilience, and cultivating insight. Their habits are not mystical secrets reserved for mountaintops. They are practical, human, and profoundly applicable. These habits shape how one responds to adversity, success, criticism, loss, and change. They train the mind to rest in clarity rather than chaos, purpose rather than impulse. The journey begins with a deceptively simple principle: learning to focus only on what is truly within your control. In Buddhist thought, much of human suffering arises from grasping, clinging to outcomes, people, and circumstances we cannot command. We want others to behave differently. We want life to unfold according to our plans. When it does not, frustration and anxiety follow. The mind exhausts itself trying to manage the uncontrollable. Monks train themselves to see this pattern clearly. They do not waste energy wrestling with the unpredictable. Instead, they anchor their attention in what can be shaped: intention, action, and response. This shift is subtle, yet revolutionary. You cannot control the weather, but you can choose whether to curse the rain or walk calmly through it. You cannot control another person's words, but you can choose whether those words take root in your heart. When the mind learns this distinction, peace becomes possible, not because life is easy, but because resistance fades. There is an old story told in monasteries about a student who complained endlessly about the world. People were unfair. Circumstances were cruel. The future felt uncertain. The teacher listened quietly, then handed the student a bowl filled with water. "Hold this," he said. The student did. After a few minutes, his arms trembled. After longer, the bowl became unbearable. "The water is not heavy," the teacher said. "But the longer you carry it unnecessarily, the more it hurts. So it is with the mind. When you carry what you cannot change, you suffer twice: once from the event itself, and again from your resistance to it. When you release what is not yours to carry, strength returns." This discipline of focus on what is within your control is not passive acceptance. It is active wisdom. It empowers you to act skillfully where action matters and to let go where it does not. Over time, this habit builds emotional resilience and mental clarity. Life may still present challenges, but the mind no longer collapses under their weight. Closely tied to this is another radical monastic habit: the courage to stop living for the approval of others. From early childhood, many of us are conditioned to seek validation. Praise becomes a measure of worth. Criticism becomes a threat to identity. In the digital age, this dependency intensifies. Likes, comments, and recognition silently train the mind to look outward for permission to feel whole. Buddhist wisdom challenges this pattern at its root. The Buddha taught that attachment to praise and fear of blame are two sides of the same chain. When your sense of self depends on external opinion, peace becomes fragile. You rise with approval and fall with disapproval, endlessly swayed by forces beyond your control. Monks observe how unstable this is. They see that every opinion is shaped by perspective, bias, mood, and history. One person's admiration is another's criticism. If your worth depends on these shifting judgments, it will never rest. Letting go of the need for approval does not mean becoming indifferent or cold. It means grounding your identity in something deeper than applause. It means learning to listen inwardly rather than constantly scanning the room for validation. When you stop asking, "How do they see me?" and begin asking, "Am I living in alignment with my values?" something profound changes. Decisions become clearer. Relationships become more honest. You no longer wear masks designed to please. You show up as you are. This is where self-acceptance begins, not as complacency, but as clarity. Monks are taught to observe themselves without cruelty. They see imperfections not as failures, but as conditions to understand. In this gentle awareness, self-respect grows naturally. There is freedom in this way of living. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from performance. Freedom from the exhausting need to be someone else. When approval is no longer the currency of your happiness, your energy returns to you. These first habits, focusing on what you can control and releasing the need for approval, lay the foundation for everything that follows. They quiet the noise of unnecessary struggle. They create space. And in that space, deeper strength begins to form. In the next part, we will explore how monks cultivate true mental strength, not by suppressing emotion, but by learning to meet life's storms with balance, awareness, and inner stability. There is a kind of strength the world celebrates loudly. It is the strength of clenched jaws and unbroken schedules, of pushing through exhaustion, of never admitting uncertainty. It looks impressive from a distance, like a statue carved from stone. But monks would tell you something quietly unsettling: stone can still crack under pressure, and the mind that pretends it feels nothing is often the first to shatter when life becomes unbearable. In the monastic tradition, mental strength is not measured by how well you hide pain. It is measured by how honestly you can meet it. The Buddha never promised a life without hardship. In fact, he began with the opposite. He pointed directly at the raw truth. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Life contains suffering. Change arrives uninvited. Loss comes without warning. The body ages, relationships shift, plans collapse, and what we cling to eventually slips through our fingers. A mind that expects permanent comfort is like a person who builds a home on sand and becomes angry when the ocean comes. So what does real mental strength look like in Buddhism? It looks like a mind that can remain present while discomfort passes through it, like a mountain that does not run from storms, but simply stands, allowing thunder to move across the sky without believing the sky has ended. This strength is built through a habit monks practice daily, creating a pause between stimulus and response. Most suffering is not born from events alone, but from the speed of our reaction to them. Someone speaks harshly, and before we even notice, the mind has already written a story. They disrespected me. I'm not valued. I must defend myself. In seconds, the heart heats up. Words sharpen, and damage is done. Monks train the mind to slow down at that exact point. not because they are unemotional, but because they understand emotions are powerful currents. When you step into a river without awareness, it drags you wherever it wants. But if you can pause and observe, you regain choice. This pause is simple in theory, yet it changes everything in practice. It might be one slow breath. It might be the brief act of noticing your jaw tighten your chest, compress your thoughts, race. That noticing is not weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. There is a story often shared in retreat centers about a traveler who arrived at a monastery furious. He had been cheated in a marketplace and could not stop replaying the insult. He demanded advice. The elder monk listened, then pointed to a bell hanging in the courtyard. "Strike it," the monk said. The traveler hit the bell. A clear sound rang out. "Now stop it," the elder said. "I already stopped," the traveler snapped. "But the bell is still ringing," the elder replied calmly. The strike was the event. The ringing is the after effect. Your anger is the ringing you keep feeding with your attention. If you stop striking it, if you stop replaying it, eventually the sound fades. This is one of the most compassionate truths Buddhism offers you. Do not have to keep striking the bell. Mental strength is the ability to let the ringing fade, and the tool monks use to develop this ability is mindfulness. Mindfulness is not a trendy concept or a productivity hack. In Buddhist practice, it is the art of seeing clearly. It means being present with what is happening within and around you, without immediately labeling it as good or bad, without grasping or rejecting. It means observing thoughts as thoughts, emotions as emotions, sensations as sensations, not as commands, not as identity, just as passing experiences. When a difficult emotion arises, fear, anger, sadness, most people do one of two things: they drown in it or they run from it. Neither creates freedom. Drowning gives emotion control. Running gives emotion power. Monks do something else. They turn toward it with awareness. They might silently name it, "Anger is here. Fear is here. Not I am angry. Not I am afraid." That small change in language is a doorway. It separates the experience from the self. It reminds the mind this is a condition passing through consciousness, not the definition of who you are. This is where the Buddhist teaching of impermanence becomes practical rather than philosophical. Everything that arises passes away. Every emotion, every mood, every thought, no matter how intense, changes. But when the mind clings, it freezes a passing experience into a permanent identity. I'm always anxious. I'll never recover. This is who I am. Monks learn to watch the truth instead. Anxiety rises, peaks, and falls. Grief moves like waves. Anger flares and cools. When you see this directly, you stop fearing emotions as permanent prisons. You begin to trust the natural flow of the mind. This does not mean you never feel pain. It means pain no longer owns you. From this foundation, another essential habit emerges: emotional awareness without self-judgment. In monastic training, emotions are not treated as enemies. They are treated as messengers. If anger is present, it may point to hurt. If jealousy arises, it may reveal insecurity. If fear dominates, it may signal a craving for control. Instead of condemning these emotions, monks study them with curiosity. Imagine the mind like a lantern carried through a dark forest. Emotions are the shadows shifting around the light. If you panic at every shadow, you will never move forward. But if you observe calmly, you can walk with intelligence. So when something difficult happens, monks often practice asking inwardly, "What am I really needing right now? What belief is fueling this reaction? Is this response rooted in wisdom or in habit?" This reflective awareness is a quiet kind of power. It is the power to be guided by insight rather than impulse. And over time, this practice cultivates what Buddhism calls equanimity. Equanimity is often misunderstood as indifference. It is not cold detachment. It is the steady balance of a mind that can hold both joy and sorrow without collapsing into either. It is the calm strength that can celebrate happiness without clinging and face loss without drowning. Picture a candle flame in a windless room, steady, bright, unmoved. Equanimity is not the absence of weather. It is the inner shelter that allows the flame to remain. When you cultivate equanimity, life still changes, but your center remains. You still care deeply, but you no longer cling desperately. You still experience emotion, but you are not ruled by it. This is why monks appear resilient. Not because life spares them, but because their minds have been trained to meet life without unnecessary resistance. And here is the practical secret. You can begin training this strength without leaving your life behind. The next time you are triggered by criticism, by stress, by disappointment, do not rush to fix, explain, or defend. Try one small practice pause. Breathe. Name what is present. Observe the sensation in your body. Then ask, what response would create peace, not just victory? That moment is where mental strength is born. In the next part, we will explore a habit that transforms obstacles themselves. How monks learn to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as teachers turning adversity into fuel for growth. Most people spend their lives trying to outrun obstacles. They see challenges as interruptions, unwanted delays on the road to happiness. When difficulties appear, the mind tightens, asking, why is this happening to me? Or how do I get past this as fast as possible? In this way, obstacles become enemies, and life turns into a constant battle against what is. Monks are taught a radically different way of seeing. In Buddhist wisdom, obstacles are not mistakes in the design of life. They are part of the design. The Buddha spoke often of suffering not as a curse, but as a teacher. Pain, loss, frustration, uncertainty. These are not signs that something has gone wrong. They are signs that something is alive, moving, changing. Resistance to this truth creates suffering. Understanding it opens the door to growth. To a monk, an obstacle is not a wall. It is a mirror. It reflects the places where attachment hides, where patience is thin, where fear quietly governs the mind. Without obstacles, these inner conditions would remain invisible. With them, awareness becomes possible. There is a simple parable shared in Buddhist traditions about a farmer whose land was filled with stones. Every season, he cursed the rocks that damaged his tools and slowed his work. One year, exhausted by anger, he began removing them one by one. Beneath the stones, he discovered rich, fertile soil. What he had called a curse was protecting the very ground that would feed his family. Obstacles often function the same way. They protect lessons we are not yet ready to receive. The habit monks cultivate is not blind positivity, but curiosity. When difficulty arises, instead of immediately resisting, they ask a quiet question. What is this here to teach me? This question shifts the mind from victimhood to engagement. It does not deny pain. It gives pain meaning. In daily life, obstacles appear in countless forms: a project that fails, a relationship that strains, an illness that slows the body, a plan that collapses unexpectedly. The habitual response is frustration or self-blame. The monastic response is mindful investigation. Mindfulness, again, is the key. When an obstacle appears, monks slow the moment down. They observe the sensations it triggers: the tightening of the chest, the heat of anger, the heaviness of disappointment. They notice the stories the mind tells. This shouldn't be happening. I'm not capable. I've lost control. Instead of believing these stories, they watch them arise and pass. In this space of observation, a powerful realization emerges. The obstacle itself is often less painful than the resistance to it. Once resistance softens, clarity returns. And with clarity comes choice. Buddhism teaches that life unfolds according to causes and conditions. Nothing arises in isolation. Every obstacle is the result of countless factors, many beyond personal control. Seeing this loosens the grip of self-blame and anger. You stop taking every difficulty personally and start seeing it impersonally as part of a larger flow. This understanding is deeply liberating. Rather than asking, "Why me?" monks learn to ask, given this moment, what response leads toward wisdom? From this perspective, obstacles become training grounds. Patience is trained when results are delayed. Compassion is trained when others disappoint. Non-attachment is trained when expectations collapse. Humility is trained when pride is wounded. Courage is trained when fear arises. Without obstacles, these qualities would remain theoretical. With them, they become embodied. One of the most transformative shifts monks make is learning to welcome difficulty, not because it feels good, but because it deepens the path. There is a saying attributed to monastic teachers, "No mud, no lotus." The lotus does not grow despite the mud. It grows because of it. The very conditions we resist are often the conditions that make growth possible. This does not mean seeking suffering or glorifying pain. Buddhism is clear. Suffering is not desirable. But when suffering arises, fighting it blindly only multiplies it. Meeting it with awareness transforms it. This is where non-attachment becomes essential. Many obstacles hurt because we are attached to how things should be. We cling to a particular outcome identity or timeline. When reality diverges, frustration follows. Monks train themselves to hold intentions lightly. They act with care and effort, but release their grip on results. This balance effort without attachment is subtle and powerful. Imagine rowing a boat across a river. You row with intention and strength, but you do not try to control the current. You adjust, respond, and continue moving. Fighting the river exhausts you. Working with it carries you forward. This mindset transforms how obstacles feel. They no longer signal failure. They signal redirection. Over time, this approach builds a resilient form of confidence, not the confidence that everything will go as planned, but the confidence that you can meet whatever comes. This is resilience in the Buddhist sense, not bouncing back to who you were before, but growing into someone wiser because of what you have faced. And something remarkable happens when obstacles are no longer feared. Energy that once went into resistance becomes available for learning. Anxiety softens into curiosity. Anger cools into understanding. Fear loosens into trust. Even difficult emotions begin to change their role. Instead of being enemies, they become guides pointing toward inner work that needs attention. A difficult conversation becomes a chance to practice mindful speech. A setback becomes an invitation to reassess values. Loss becomes a doorway to compassion for yourself and for others who suffer in similar ways. This does not happen overnight. It is a habit cultivated through repeated moments of awareness. Each time you choose to pause instead of react, to inquire instead of resist, you strengthen this way of seeing. In the monastery, progress is not measured by the absence of difficulty, but by the quality of response. You can apply this today. The next time something does not go as planned, resist the urge to label it immediately as bad. Instead, take one breath and ask, what quality is this moment asking me to develop? Patience, courage, acceptance, wisdom? This question alone can change the direction of your inner life. In the next part, we will explore a habit that gives monks extraordinary focus and alignment self-discipline, not as harsh control, but as a path to inner freedom and clarity. In the modern world, self-discipline often carries a harsh reputation. It is associated with rigid schedules, relentless self-control, and a constant sense of forcing oneself to improve. Many people hear the word and immediately feel resistance, imagining a life stripped of joy, spontaneity, and ease. Monks understand self-discipline in a completely different way. To them, discipline is not a cage, it is a doorway. Without discipline, the mind is pulled in countless directions by desire, distraction, fear, and habit. One moment you resolve to focus, the next, you are swept away by impulses you did not consciously choose. This is not freedom. It is quiet captivity. Buddhist self-discipline is the practice of reclaiming choice. The Buddha taught that true freedom does not come from doing whatever we want, whenever we want. It comes from understanding what drives our wanting in the first place. When desire is unconscious, it controls us. When desire is seen clearly, it loosens its grip. This is why monks commit to discipline, not to suppress life, but to meet it with clarity. At the heart of Buddhist discipline is ethical alignment. Actions are not judged as good or bad by rigid rules, but by their consequences on the mind, on others, and on the path toward liberation. This understanding is embodied in the 5 precepts, which monks and lay practitioners alike use as a compass rather than a commandment. These precepts guide one to avoid harm, avoid taking what is not given, avoid careless use of desire, avoid false speech, and avoid intoxication of the mind. On the surface, they appear simple. In practice, they are profound acts of discipline that protect clarity and compassion. Each precept is less about restriction and more about preservation, preserving peace, trust, and awareness. When you refrain from harming, you cultivate compassion. When you speak truthfully, you cultivate integrity. When you guard the clarity of the mind, you cultivate wisdom. Discipline becomes a form of self-respect. Monks learn that every action leaves a mental trace. Words spoken in anger echo inward. Impulsive habits strengthen restlessness. Careless indulgence clouds awareness. Discipline interrupts these patterns not through punishment, but through understanding. And crucially, Buddhism never frames discipline as perfection. Monastic training emphasizes practice over purity. You will falter. You will forget. You will choose habit over awareness more times than you can count. This is not failure. It is the training ground. The difference lies in how you respond. Instead of self-criticism, monks return to intention. Instead of shame, they cultivate recommitment. Discipline becomes gentle persistence rather than harsh control. One of the most powerful monastic habits is consistency in small things. Rather than dramatic overhauls, monks commit to daily practices that are modest but unwavering. A short meditation at dawn, mindful walking between tasks, eating with awareness, speaking slowly and intentionally. Over time, these small acts reshape the mind far more effectively than bursts of extreme effort. Consistency builds trust within yourself. Each time you keep a small promise, you reinforce a quiet confidence: I can rely on my intention. This inner trust is the backbone of discipline. Without it, discipline becomes a battle. With it, discipline becomes natural. Meditation is central to this process. Sitting still day after day, the monk watches the mind resist. Thoughts wander. Discomfort arises. Boredom whispers. Instead of obeying these impulses, the practitioner stays. not rigidly, kindly. This simple act strengthens the muscle of attention. Over time, this attention spills into daily life. You notice urges before they control you. You recognize habits as habits. Choice re-enters the moment. Discipline then reveals its paradoxical gift: freedom. When the mind is not constantly hijacked by craving or aversion, it rests. When actions align with values, inner conflict fades. When awareness guides behavior, regret diminishes. Life feels lighter not because there are fewer responsibilities, but because resistance decreases. Another essential aspect of monastic discipline is simplicity. Monks deliberately reduce unnecessary complexity. Fewer possessions, fewer commitments, fewer distractions. Not as a rejection of the world, but as a way of hearing life more clearly. Every excess physical or mental demands attention. Attention is finite. Where it is scattered, depth becomes impossible. By simplifying, monks protect their capacity for presence. This does not require renunciation of your life. It requires discernment. What drains you without nourishing you? What habits fragment your attention? What obligations are rooted in fear rather than meaning? Discipline begins by asking honest questions. You might start by simplifying one small area: your morning routine, your digital consumption, your commitments. Notice how clarity grows when noise decreases. This clarity feeds discipline naturally. When the mind is not overloaded, choosing wisely becomes easier. And here is an important truth. Monks understand deeply. Discipline fueled by self-hatred will never last. True discipline grows from care. Care for the mind. Care for the heart. Care for the path you are walking. When you choose to meditate, speak kindly, or act with restraint, not because you are not enough, but because you value peace, discipline becomes an expression of love. Over time, this love creates alignment. Actions, words, and intentions begin to move in the same direction. Inner conflict softens, focus sharpens, energy gathers. This alignment is what allows monks to live with such clarity, and it is available to you. In the next part, we will explore another habit that deepens this clarity even further: simplicity, not as deprivation, but as a powerful way of creating space for what truly matters. Most people believe they are tired because they do too much. Monks would gently suggest something different. We are tired because we carry too much that does not matter. The habit of simplicity is one of the most misunderstood aspects of monastic life. It is often mistaken for austerity or denial, as if simplicity were a punishment or a retreat from joy. In Buddhist wisdom, simplicity is neither deprivation nor withdrawal. It is refinement. It is the art of clearing space so that life can breathe. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from having little, but from wanting more than we need. Desire multiplies endlessly. One craving is satisfied, another appears. The mind becomes restless, always leaning toward the next thing. Simplicity interrupts this cycle. Monks do not simplify because possessions are evil. They simplify because attention is precious. Every object you own, every commitment you maintain, every expectation you carry makes a quiet demand on your awareness. When these demands accumulate, the mind fragments. Clarity becomes rare. Presence becomes difficult. Simplicity is the practice of asking a single courageous question: what is essential? This question applies not only to objects, but to thoughts, habits, relationships, and ambitions. In monasteries, physical simplicity is often the first teacher. Few possessions, repeated routines, familiar surroundings. This external order supports internal calm. When the environment is quiet, the mind becomes easier to observe. But the deeper work begins inside. Mental clutter is heavier than physical clutter. Regrets from the past, anxieties about the future, comparisons with others, endless inner commentary. Much of our exhaustion comes from conversations that never stop happening in the mind. Monks learn to simplify mentally through mindfulness. Instead of chasing every thought, they observe thoughts as passing phenomena. They let go of the urge to resolve everything immediately. They return again and again to the present moment, breath-body sensation. This returning is not passive. It is an act of discipline and care. When you simplify mentally, you stop adding unnecessary commentary to life. A mistake becomes a mistake, not a story about worth. A delay becomes a delay, not a personal failure. A moment of silence becomes rest, not discomfort. In this way, simplicity creates peace, not by changing circumstances, but by changing relationship to them. There is a quiet joy that arises from this practice. When the mind is no longer chasing, it begins to notice what was always there. The warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of breathing, the simple fact of being alive. These experiences do not require achievement. They require attention. Simplicity returns attention to what is already enough. Another aspect of simplicity monks cultivate is clarity of intention. Modern life often encourages us to say yes by default to opportunities, invitations, expectations. Over time, life fills with obligations that may not align with our values. Simplicity asks us to choose deliberately. This does not mean withdrawing from responsibility. It means aligning responsibility with meaning. When commitments are chosen consciously, energy flows more freely. When commitments are driven by fear of missing out or desire for approval, energy drains quickly. Monks learn to say no without guilt, not out of rejection, but out of respect for the path they are walking. You can practice this by noticing where your time goes, which activities nourish clarity and compassion, which leave you scattered and depleted. Simplifying your schedule can be as powerful as simplifying your home. Simplicity also transforms relationships. When you are not constantly performing, impressing, or competing, connection deepens. Conversations slow down. Listening improves. Presence becomes a gift you can offer others. In Buddhist practice, simplicity is closely linked with contentment. Contentment does not mean stagnation. It means recognizing sufficiency in the present moment. From this recognition, growth becomes healthier. You improve not because you are lacking, but because learning itself is meaningful. There is a story of a monk who was asked why he always seemed peaceful. He replied, "Because I do not argue with what is enough." This attitude changes everything. When you stop arguing with what is enough, desire softens. Comparison loses its grip. Gratitude arises naturally. And in that gratitude, something unexpected appears: freedom. Freedom from the pressure to accumulate. Freedom from constant dissatisfaction. Freedom from the belief that happiness lives somewhere else. This freedom does not remove challenges. It changes how you carry them. Simplicity lightens the load. You may not live in a monastery, but you can live with monastic clarity. Begin small. Clear one space. Release one unnecessary commitment. Take one moment each day to sit without reaching for anything. Notice what happens when you stop adding. In the next part, we will explore a habit that expands the heart beyond the self-generosity, not as transaction, but as a practice of release, abundance, and deep connection. There is a quiet fear that lives in many human hearts, a fear that there is not enough. Not enough time, not enough love, not enough security, not enough worth to go around. This fear fuels grasping. It tightens the hand around possessions, recognition, and control. Monks learn early that this fear is one of the deepest sources of suffering. The habit that dissolves it is generosity. In Buddhism, generosity is not primarily about giving things. It is about releasing the grip of the ego. It is the practice of opening the hand internally and externally and trusting life. The Buddha placed generosity at the very beginning of the path, not by accident. Before the mind can see clearly, the heart must soften. And generosity is how the heart learns to soften without fear. True generosity, as monks understand it, is giving without expectation. This may sound simple, but it is radical. Much of what we call giving is actually exchange. We give time for appreciation. We give help for recognition. We give kindness, hoping for kindness in return. When expectations are attached, disappointment quietly follows. Monks train themselves to notice this attachment and gently release it. When you give without expectation, the act itself becomes complete. There is nothing to wait for, nothing to measure, nothing to be repaid. This is why generosity brings immediate peace. It frees you from the future. There is a story of a monk who was known for offering food to travelers without ever asking their names. When asked why, he replied, "Because names create stories, and stories create expectations. I prefer freedom." Generosity in this sense is not self-sacrifice, it is self-liberation. When you give without clinging, you loosen the belief that happiness must be protected or earned. You begin to trust that giving does not diminish you, it expands you. This trust shifts the mind from scarcity to abundance. Abundance in Buddhism does not mean excess. It means sufficiency. It means knowing that what truly matters, awareness, compassion, wisdom, grows when shared. Monks practice generosity in many forms. They give food, time, attention, forgiveness, and presence. Often, the most powerful form of generosity is listening without distraction. To sit fully with another person without fixing or judging is a profound act of giving. This kind of generosity strengthens mindfulness. When you give attention fully, the mind settles. Ego recedes. Connection deepens. The boundary between self and other softens. And this leads to another essential habit monks cultivate alongside generosity: releasing negative thoughts. The mind, if left unattended, produces endless commentary. Judgments, fears, resentments, self-criticism. Many of these thoughts repeat for years, shaping identity without ever being questioned. Monks see this clearly and refuse to treat every thought as truth. They train the mind to observe thoughts the way one watches clouds pass through the sky. A negative thought arises, "I am not enough." Instead of believing it, the monk notices it, names it, feels its emotional charge, and lets it pass. The thought loses power, not because it is fought, but because it is not fed. This is where mindfulness and generosity meet. Releasing negative thoughts is an act of generosity toward yourself. Just as you would not endlessly criticize a child learning to walk, monks learn not to harshly judge their own minds. They recognize that thoughts are conditioned by past experiences, fears, and habits. They are not commands. They are not identity. When negative thoughts arise, monks often practice gentle redirection. They may replace harsh self-talk with compassionate phrases, not forced positivity, but truthful kindness. Instead of "I failed," the mind learns to say, "This is a moment of learning." Instead of "I am broken," it learns "I am experiencing difficulty." This subtle shift preserves dignity. Another powerful practice is loving kindness, known as metta. In metta practice, monks deliberately cultivate goodwill first toward themselves, then toward others, including those they find difficult. They silently offer phrases of well-wishing. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. This practice is not sentimental. It is disciplined heart training. Over time, metta softens. Resentment dissolves grudges and loosens the ego's need to defend. It becomes easier to release negative thoughts when the heart is anchored in goodwill. Generosity and mental release work together. When the mind stops hoarding, whether possessions, praise, or painful stories, space opens. In that space, peace arises naturally. It is important to understand that generosity does not mean neglecting yourself. Monks are taught balance. Giving from exhaustion or resentment is not generosity. It is self-erasure. True giving arises from inner fullness, not obligation. This balance teaches discernment. You give what you can when you can without harming yourself. You rest when needed. You receive when offered. In this way, generosity becomes sustainable. As this habit deepens, something beautiful happens. The world begins to feel less hostile. Others feel less like threats. Even difficulties feel more workable. The heart grows resilient, not by hardening, but by opening. This is the paradox monks live by. The more you release, the lighter you become. In the next part, we will explore one of the most foundational monastic habits of all, the daily practice of meditation, and how it trains clarity, stability, and insight that carry into every moment of life. All monastic habits eventually return to one quiet, unassuming practice, sitting still and watching the mind. Meditation is not the centerpiece of monastic life because it is mystical or impressive. It is central because it reveals the truth of experience without decoration. When everything unnecessary is stripped away, meditation shows you how your mind actually works. The Buddha did not teach meditation as an escape from life. He taught it as a way of meeting life without distortion. In meditation, monks are not trying to become calm at all costs. They are learning to become honest. When you sit down, the mind does not suddenly become peaceful. It reveals what has been there all along: restlessness, planning memories, impatience, desire. Meditation is the act of staying present with this revelation rather than fleeing from it. This is where clarity begins. Mindfulness meditation. The foundation of Buddhist practice trains attention to rest in the present moment. Often this begins with something simple and ordinary: the breath. The breath is not chosen because it is special, but because it is always available. It anchors awareness in what is real now. As attention settles on the breath, thoughts arise. The training is not to stop thinking, but to notice thinking. Each time the mind wanders and returns, awareness strengthens. This return is the exercise. Over time, meditation teaches a crucial lesson: you are not your thoughts. Thoughts arise due to conditions, memory, emotion, habit, environment. They come and go. When you observe this repeatedly, identification loosens. The mind becomes less reactive. Space appears between stimulus and response. This space is where freedom lives. In daily life, this means you begin to notice reactions before they control you. You see irritation forming before it becomes speech. You feel anxiety before it becomes panic. You recognize craving before it becomes compulsion. Meditation sharpens this awareness. Another essential aspect of meditation is non-attachment. In meditation, pleasant experiences arise: calm, clarity, lightness. Unpleasant experiences arise too: boredom, discomfort, agitation. Monks are trained not to cling to either. They observe both with the same gentle interest. This teaches equanimity directly. You learn that pleasure does not need to be grasped, and pain does not need to be feared. Both are impermanent. Both pass. This understanding changes how you relate to life outside meditation. Success no longer intoxicates. Failure no longer devastates. Experiences are met, lived, and released. Monks also practice insight meditation, often called vipassana. Vipassana goes beyond calm to examine the nature of reality. In this practice, sensations, thoughts, and emotions are observed closely. The meditator sees directly that everything is changing. Nothing stays fixed. Even the sense of self shifts moment by moment. This insight into impermanence and non-self is not intellectual. It is experiential. It loosens attachment at the root. When you see that thoughts, emotions, and identities are processes rather than possessions, suffering decreases. You stop defending what cannot be secured. Meditation also cultivates compassion. As awareness deepens, monks notice how universal mental patterns are: fear, longing, confusion. These are not personal flaws. They are human conditions. This realization softens judgment toward oneself and others. From this understanding, compassion arises naturally. Another powerful form of meditation is loving kindness, or metta. This practice deliberately cultivates goodwill. It counterbalances the mind's tendency toward criticism and division. By repeatedly offering phrases of kindness toward oneself, toward others, toward all beings, the heart is trained toward openness. Over time, this training influences behavior. Responses become kinder. Reactions soften. Meditation, then, is not confined to the cushion. Its real test is how it appears in daily moments, how you listen, how you speak, how you pause before reacting. Monks often say that meditation begins when you stand up. Consistency is more important than duration. Monks do not meditate to achieve experiences. They meditate to build familiarity with the mind. Even short daily practice done sincerely reshapes perception. You may sit for 5 minutes or 50. What matters is the return. Again and again, attention returns. This repeated returning is the training. Over time, meditation becomes a refuge, not an escape, but a place of clarity. When life becomes overwhelming, the mind remembers how to settle. When emotions surge, awareness remains. This is why meditation is the backbone of monastic life. It supports every other habit: discipline, generosity, patience, simplicity. Without awareness, these habits become mechanical. With awareness, they become alive. You can begin where you are. Sit comfortably. Notice the breath. When the mind wanders, return without judgment. This simple act, repeated over time, builds a foundation of stability no external circumstance can easily shake. In the next part, we will explore a habit that matures meditation into daily life patience, not as waiting, but as a powerful way of meeting reality with trust and resilience. Patience is often misunderstood as weakness, a passive tolerance of discomfort or delay. In the monastic tradition, patience is something very different. It is strength that does not rush. It is wisdom that understands timing. It is the quiet confidence that life does not need to be forced in order to unfold. The Buddha taught patience as one of the highest virtues, not because it is easy, but because it dissolves some of the deepest roots of suffering. Impatience is rarely about time alone. It is about resistance to discomfort, to uncertainty, to not getting what we want when we want it. Monks train patience not by waiting idly, but by learning how to remain present with what is. In Buddhist teachings, Patience has several dimensions. One is patience with hardship. Life inevitably brings pain, physical discomfort, emotional loss, disappointment, and fatigue. Without patience, the mind reacts with anger or despair. With patience, the mind stays open, observing the experience without adding unnecessary struggle. This does not mean enjoying pain. It means not multiplying it. There is a quiet teaching often repeated in monasteries. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering grows when the mind says, "This should not be happening," or "I cannot bear this." Patience replaces those thoughts with something gentler. "This is happening now. Let me stay." Staying is powerful. When you remain present with discomfort, something unexpected occurs. You begin to notice that discomfort changes. It moves, shifts, intensifies, softens, and eventually fades. The mind learns a crucial truth: it can endure far more than it believes. This realization builds resilience. Another form of patience monks cultivate is patience with others. Every person you meet is shaped by conditions you cannot see past: wounds, fears, hopes, confusion. When others act unskillfully, impatience rises quickly. Judgment follows. Conflict escalates. Monks practice remembering a simple truth: others like themselves are learning. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it changes the response. Instead of reacting with immediate anger, patience creates space for understanding. It allows for clearer boundaries, calmer speech, and wiser action. Patience with others is rooted in compassion. The more you understand your own struggles, the easier it becomes to recognize struggle in others. This recognition softens the heart without weakening discernment. There is also patience with truth. Buddhism teaches that reality is impermanent, interconnected, and often unpredictable. Trying to control life completely leads to frustration. Patience with truth means accepting what is revealed moment by moment, even when it conflicts with preferences. This form of patience is deeply liberating. When you stop fighting reality, energy returns. You no longer exhaust yourself arguing with what has already happened. Instead, you meet the present as it is and respond skillfully from there. Patience is closely linked with trust. Trust in process, trust in effort, trust in timing. Monks understand that growth, whether mental or spiritual, cannot be rushed. Insight matures slowly. Habits change gradually. The mind learns in layers. Impatience demands immediate results. Patience allows transformation. In meditation, patience shows itself clearly. The mind wants progress, calm clarity now. Patience allows the practice to unfold naturally. You sit, you observe, you return. No forcing, no chasing. This same patience carries into daily life. Waiting in line becomes an opportunity to breathe. Delays become moments of awareness. Frustration becomes a teacher pointing toward attachment. Patience also supports delayed gratification. Modern culture encourages instant reward. Buddhism encourages long vision. Monks understand that meaningful change comes from sustained effort over time. Patience allows you to invest in the future without anxiety. This does not mean passivity. It means steady, intentional action without panic. Patience protects the mind from burnout. When you are patient with yourself, mistakes become information rather than proof of failure. You correct gently and continue. This kindness makes persistence possible. One of the most practical ways to cultivate patience is mindfulness. When impatience arises, pause. Notice the sensations: tightness in the chest, heat in the face, restlessness in the body. Observe without judgment. This observation itself is patience in action. Another practice is reframing waiting as living. Life does not pause while you wait. The breath continues. Sensations arise. Awareness is available. When waiting is seen as wasted time, impatience grows. When waiting is seen as life itself, peace becomes accessible. Over time, patience reshapes character. You become less reactive, less rushed, more attentive. Decisions become wiser because they are not driven by urgency alone. This is why monks value patience so highly. It stabilizes every other habit. Discipline lasts longer. Generosity becomes effortless. Meditation deepens. Compassion expands. Patience is not about enduring life until it improves. It is about meeting life fully right now. In the next part, we will explore another essential monastic habit that completes this foundation: cultivating compassion and loving kindness as a way of relating to all beings, including yourself, with openness and care. At the heart of monastic life lies a quiet truth. No amount of discipline, clarity, or insight matters if the heart remains closed. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Strength without kindness becomes rigid. This is why monks devote themselves to cultivating compassion, not as an emotion that appears when conditions are pleasant, but as a trained way of relating to life itself. In Buddhism, compassion is not pity. It is understanding in action. To be compassionate is to recognize suffering, your own and others, and to respond with care rather than judgment. This response is not weak. It requires courage to remain open in a world that often encourages hardness. Monks begin this training by turning compassion inward. Self-compassion is often the most difficult practice. Many people treat themselves with a harshness they would never direct toward another human being. Mistakes become evidence of unworthiness. Struggles become personal failures. Buddhist practice gently challenges this pattern. Monks are taught to see their own minds as fields being cultivated, not machines expected to function perfectly. Weeds grow. Conditions change. Growth takes time. Compassion toward oneself creates the conditions for learning. Without self-compassion, discipline becomes punishment. With it, discipline becomes care. This inward compassion naturally extends outward. Through loving-kindness meditation, monks actively train the heart to wish well for others, starting with themselves, then loved ones, neutral people, difficult people, and eventually all beings. This progression is deliberate. It recognizes that compassion grows gradually. Forcing love toward those we resent only creates inner conflict. Training builds capacity. As this practice deepens, something remarkable happens. The mind becomes less divided. The habit of labeling others as enemies or obstacles weakens. Even when disagreement remains, hostility softens. Compassion does not mean agreeing with everyone. It means recognizing shared humanity, even in difference. Another essential insight monks cultivate is the universality of suffering. Every being seeks happiness and avoids pain. Even harmful actions are often driven by confusion and fear. This understanding does not excuse harm, but it explains it, and explanation opens the door to wise response. When you see suffering beneath behavior, anger loses its fuel. Compassion also transforms how monks relate to difficulty. When pain arises, physical or emotional, it is met with kindness rather than resistance. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this?" the question becomes, "How do I care for this moment?" This shift reduces inner violence. The body relaxes. The breath softens. The mind becomes a refuge rather than a battlefield. Compassion also supports forgiveness. Forgiveness in Buddhism is not forgetting or condoning. It is releasing the burden of carrying resentment. Monks understand that holding anger harms the holder more than the target. Letting go is an act of self-protection. Through compassion, forgiveness becomes possible not as a forced moral act, but as a natural outcome of understanding. Another dimension of compassion is mindful speech. Monks train themselves to speak in ways that reduce suffering. Before speaking, they reflect. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is this the right time? This discipline protects relationships and preserves clarity. Compassionate speech does not avoid honesty. It delivers honesty without cruelty. Over time, this habit creates trust. Others feel safe. Conflict becomes less destructive. Compassion also deepens connection with life itself. When the heart opens, isolation dissolves. You begin to feel part of a larger whole. The boundaries between self and others soften. This sense of interconnectedness is central to Buddhist wisdom. From this view, harming another is understood as harming oneself. Caring for another becomes caring for the whole. This realization changes motivation. Actions are no longer driven solely by personal gain. They are guided by awareness of impact. Choices become ethical not because of rules, but because of understanding. Compassion, then, is not an accessory to spiritual life. It is its expression. Without compassion, insight becomes dry. With compassion, insight becomes transformative. You can cultivate this habit in simple ways. Begin by noticing how you speak to yourself. Replace harsh judgments with gentle truth. Offer yourself the same patience you would offer a friend. Then practice small acts of kindness without expectation. Listen fully. Speak gently. Pause before reacting. These moments accumulate. The heart learns a new rhythm. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that deepens both wisdom and compassion, cultivating right intention and mindful action, aligning daily life with purpose rather than impulse. A monk's life may appear quiet from the outside, but inwardly, it is guided by a powerful current intention. Every action, no matter how small, is shaped by an awareness of why it is being done. This is one of the most transformative habits in Buddhist practice, living by intention rather than impulse. The Buddha taught that intention is the seed of action. Before words are spoken, before deeds are carried out, intention has already formed. If intention is rooted in greed, fear or ignorance, suffering follows. If it is rooted in wisdom, compassion and clarity, peace grows. Monks learn to watch intention carefully. In daily life, much of what we do happens automatically. Habits run the show. Reactions arise faster than reflection. This automatic living often leads to regret, not because actions were evil, but because they were unconscious. Mindful intention interrupts this pattern. Before acting, monks pause inwardly and ask, "What is moving me right now? Is it kindness or irritation, fear or care, restlessness or wisdom?" This pause may last only a breath, but it changes everything. When action follows intention, consciously, alignment forms. Alignment means thoughts, words, and actions point in the same direction. Inner conflict decreases. Energy becomes coherent. Life feels simpler, even when responsibilities remain complex. This practice is closely connected to the Buddhist concept of right action and right livelihood, parts of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right action means choosing behaviors that reduce harm and increase understanding. Right livelihood means engaging in work that supports life rather than exploits it. Monks embody these principles fully, but they are equally relevant in everyday life. Living with right intention does not require perfection. It requires honesty. You may notice that some actions are driven by fear of disapproval, others by the need to prove worth, others by unconscious craving. Seeing this clearly is already progress. Intention is not about judging yourself. It is about becoming aware. Once aware, choice becomes possible. Another aspect of this habit is mindful action. Monks are taught to bring awareness into ordinary tasks: walking, eating, cleaning, speaking. Nothing is considered too small for mindfulness. This transforms life from a series of tasks into a continuous practice. When you eat mindfully, nourishment increases. When you walk mindfully, tension releases. When you listen mindfully, connection deepens. Mindful action slows life just enough to reveal meaning. This does not mean becoming slow or inefficient. It means becoming present. Presence improves quality. In relationships, mindful intention changes communication. Instead of speaking to win or defend, you speak to understand. Instead of listening to reply, you listen to connect. Conflict becomes less about victory and more about clarity. In work, intention clarifies motivation. Are you working solely for validation or to contribute meaningfully? This awareness can reshape career choices, or at the very least, how you relate to what you do. Even rest becomes intentional. Rest is no longer escape, but restoration. You rest to care for the body and mind, not to numb them. This makes rest more effective and guilt-free. Monks understand that intention also shapes the future. Actions repeated with certain intentions strengthen corresponding mental pathways. Acting with kindness makes kindness easier. Acting with awareness makes awareness natural. Acting with care creates stability. This is how character is formed, not in dramatic moments, but in small, repeated choices. Another important aspect of right intention is renunciation. Not renunciation of life, but renunciation of harmful motivations. Monks practice letting go of intentions rooted in greed, ill will, and cruelty. They cultivate intentions rooted in generosity, goodwill, and harmlessness. This renunciation is freeing. When you no longer act from compulsion, life feels lighter. You are no longer driven by every urge. You choose. This choice creates dignity. To live intentionally is to live awake. You do not need to become a monk to practice this. Begin with one pause. Before speaking, before reacting, before deciding, pause. Notice what is present. Then act. This simple habit repeated reshapes life. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that protects intention and awareness, guarding the mind through mindful consumption, what monks take in through the senses, and why it matters so deeply. The mind is shaped not only by what it produces, but by what it consumes. Monks understand this deeply. Just as the body becomes what it eats, the mind becomes what it repeatedly takes in through the senses. This is why one of the most quietly powerful monastic habits is mindful consumption. In modern life, the senses are constantly stimulated. Screens flicker with endless information. News cycles feed anxiety. Entertainment blurs into distraction. Conversations are often rushed, half heard, half felt. The mind rarely rests, and when the mind never rests, clarity fades. Monks train themselves to be guardians of attention. This does not mean avoiding the world. It means engaging with it consciously. Before taking something in words, images, food, music, conversation, they ask often implicitly, what effect will this have on the mind? This question changes everything. In Buddhism, the senses are seen as gateways. What passes through them leaves impressions. Repeated impressions shape habits. Habits shape character. Character shapes destiny. Mindful consumption interrupts this chain at the beginning. One of the clearest examples is speech and sound. Monks limit exposure to idle talk, gossip, and harsh speech, not because words are dangerous, but because the mind absorbs tone and intention. Repeated exposure to anger breeds anger. Repeated exposure to fear breeds fear. Silence, when used wisely, cleanses the mind. Silence is not emptiness, it is nourishment. In silence, the mind hears itself. It notices agitation. It recognizes longing. It sees patterns that noise conceals. This is why silence is cherished in monasteries. It is not imposed, it is protected. Mindful consumption also applies to information. Not all knowledge is wisdom. Some information sharpens understanding. Other information agitates without offering insight. Monks are taught to consume only what supports clarity and compassion. This is especially relevant in a world where outrage is profitable and distraction is endless. When you constantly feed the mind alarming or trivial content, the nervous system never settles. Anxiety becomes baseline. Attention fragments. Depth disappears. Mindful consumption asks for restraint, not out of fear, but out of care. What you choose not to consume matters as much as what you choose to consume. Food is another powerful teacher. Monks eat with awareness. They notice taste, texture, hunger, fullness. They eat to sustain the body, not to numb emotion. This practice trains moderation and gratitude. Mindful eating reveals how often we use consumption to escape discomfort. When eating becomes awareness rather than avoidance, the relationship with desire softens. This awareness extends to all forms of intake, entertainment, social media conversation, even ambition. Ambition itself can be consumed unconsciously. Praise, recognition, success. These can intoxicate the mind if taken without awareness. Monks learn to notice the subtle craving for affirmation and gently loosen it. They ask, is this feeding wisdom or feeding ego? This question is uncomfortable but liberating. Mindful consumption creates mental hygiene. Just as you clean your body, you clean your attention. You notice when the mind feels overstimulated, restless, or dull, and you adjust input accordingly. Sometimes the most skillful action is not doing more, but taking in less. This habit protects inner stillness. Stillness is not laziness. It is the ground from which wise action arises. Without stillness, even good intentions scatter. Another aspect of guarding the mind is mindful association. Monks are careful about the company they keep, not from judgment, but from understanding influence. Emotions, attitudes, and values are contagious. Being around constant negativity shapes perception. Being around clarity supports clarity. This does not mean rejecting others. It means knowing your limits and choosing environments that support growth. You can practice this by noticing how you feel after certain interactions. Energized or drained. Clear or confused. Over time, patterns emerge. Mindful consumption is ultimately about respect for the mind, for awareness for the path you are walking. When you respect your attention, life becomes more spacious. You hear more, feel more, react less. This habit does not demand perfection. It invites honesty. Begin with one sense. Notice what you are feeding it. Notice the effect. Adjust gently. In the next part, we will explore another essential monastic habit that ties all others together, reflecting daily on impermanence, not as a morbid thought, but as a source of urgency, gratitude, and freedom. There is a reflection monks return to again and again, not because it is dark, but because it is clarifying. Everything changes. Nothing stays. No moment can be held. This habit, contemplating impermanence, is one of the most powerful practices in Buddhism. It cuts through illusion and brings life into sharp focus. While many people avoid thinking about change and loss, monks turn toward them deliberately. In doing so, they discover freedom. Impermanence is not a philosophy to believe in. It is a truth to observe. The body changes with each breath. Emotions rise and fall. Thoughts appear and vanish. Relationships evolve. Circumstances shift. When this is seen, directly attachment loosens. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we cling to what is unstable, as if it were permanent. We grasp at youth comfort, praise identity, and certainty things that cannot be secured. When they change, as they must, pain follows. Monks train themselves to remember this, not to become detached from life, but to engage with it wisely. When you know something will not last, you appreciate it more deeply. A meal is tasted more fully. A conversation is listened to more carefully. A quiet moment is cherished. Impermanence brings urgency, not panic, but presence. This reflection also softens fear. Much fear is rooted in trying to freeze life. We fear loss because we believe what we have should stay. When impermanence is understood, loss is still painful, but it is no longer shocking. It becomes part of the natural rhythm of existence. Monks contemplate aging, illness, and death not to become morbid, but to become honest. These realities are not failures of life. They are features of it. Remembering this changes priorities. Petty grievances lose importance. Meaningful actions gain weight. Time feels precious. Impermanence also brings humility. Success is seen as temporary. Failure is seen as temporary. Identity loosens. You are not permanently defined by your best or worst moments. This understanding frees you from both pride and shame. Another insight that arises from contemplating impermanence is non-attachment. Non-attachment is not indifference. It is loving without clinging. It is caring without gripping. Monks learn to hold experiences gently, allowing them to come and go. This gentle holding reduces suffering. When joy arises, it is enjoyed fully without desperation. When sorrow arises, it is met with care without collapse. The mind becomes resilient, not because it hardens, but because it flows. Impermanence also supports forgiveness. When you realize that everything changes, grudges lose their power. The moment you are clinging to will never return. Holding anger becomes less appealing than letting it dissolve. This reflection deepens compassion as well. Seeing that all beings are subject to change, aging, and loss creates tenderness. You recognize shared vulnerability. Harsh judgments soften. Monks often reflect on impermanence at the beginning and end of the day. This reflection frames life honestly. Today will not come again. This breath will not return. This moment is unrepeatable. From this awareness, motivation arises naturally, not to accumulate, but to live meaningfully. Impermanence also supports ethical living. When you remember that life is fleeting, harming others feels senseless. Kindness feels urgent. Presence feels valuable. You begin to ask, if this moment were my last, how would I want to meet it? This question cuts through distraction. You do not need to live in a monastery to practice this habit. Simply notice change. Notice how sensations shift. Notice how moods pass. Notice how circumstances evolve. Let this noticing soften attachment. Impermanence does not take meaning away from life. It gives meaning its intensity. Because nothing lasts, everything matters. In the next part, we will explore another habit monks cultivate that arises naturally from this insight. Gratitude, not as forced positivity, but as clear seeing of what is already present. When monks contemplate impermanence deeply, a surprising quality begins to grow in the heart. Not sadness, but gratitude. Gratitude in Buddhism is not a performance or a list of things to be thankful for. It is a natural response to seeing clearly. When you recognize that nothing is guaranteed, everything becomes a gift. Gratitude, as monks practice it, is a form of wisdom. It arises not because life is perfect, but because life is present. Most dissatisfaction comes from focusing on what is missing rather than what is here. The mind compares, anticipates, and judges. Gratitude reverses this habit. It trains the mind to rest with sufficiency. Monks cultivate gratitude by paying attention. They notice the simple conditions that support life: food, shelter, breath awareness, the effort of others. Nothing is taken for granted. Even difficulties are seen as teachers. This way of seeing transforms ordinary moments. Water is no longer just water. It is the result of rain, rivers, labor, and care. A meal is no longer just fuel. It is connection. When attention deepens, appreciation follows naturally. Gratitude also protects the mind from envy and resentment. When you are aware of what you have, comparison loses its grip. You stop measuring your life against imagined alternatives. Contentment grows not from accumulation, but from recognition. In monastic life, gratitude is often practiced through reflection. Monks may reflect daily on the conditions that made their practice possible, the teachers who guided them, the community that supports them, the countless unseen causes that sustain existence. This reflection humbles the ego. Humility opens the heart. When you recognize how interdependent life is, self-centeredness softens. You see that nothing is achieved alone. Even personal effort is supported by countless conditions. This understanding deepens compassion. Gratitude also transforms how monks relate to difficulty. Rather than asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this revealing?" Even painful experiences are seen as opportunities to deepen patience, understanding, or kindness. This does not mean denying pain. It means not letting pain obscure meaning. Gratitude also supports resilience. When the mind remembers what is still intact, it does not collapse in hardship. You may lose one thing, but not everything. Awareness remains. Breath remains. Choice remains. This awareness creates stability. Another powerful aspect of gratitude is its connection to generosity. When you recognize how much you receive, giving becomes natural. Gratitude overflows into action. You want to contribute not out of obligation, but out of appreciation. This cycle, receiving, appreciating, giving, creates harmony. Monks also practice gratitude toward themselves. This may seem surprising, but it is essential. Recognizing effort without arrogance builds encouragement. You acknowledge practice, persistence, and growth without inflating identity. This balanced gratitude prevents burnout. Gratitude, when practiced sincerely, quiets the mind. Complaints fade. Urgency softens. Attention settles. Life feels less like a problem to be solved and more like a reality to be lived. You can cultivate this habit simply. Pause during the day. Notice one thing supporting you right now. It could be breath, light, a kind word, or the fact that you are alive. Let that noticing linger. This is not forced positivity. It is clear seeing. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that refines gratitude into action service, not as self-sacrifice, but as a natural expression of understanding and compassion. When gratitude matures, it does not remain an inner feeling. It moves outward. In monastic life, this outward movement is called service, not as duty or self-sacrifice, but as a natural response to understanding interconnectedness. Service in Buddhism is not about losing yourself. It is about forgetting the illusion that you were ever separate. Monks serve not because they believe others are more important than themselves, but because they see that caring for others is inseparable from caring for the whole. When suffering appears anywhere, it matters everywhere. This perspective changes the meaning of action. Service is no longer measured by recognition or scale. A small act done with presence has the same value as a grand gesture done with ego. What matters is intention and awareness. In monasteries, service is woven into daily life. Cleaning, cooking, teaching, listening. These are not chores. They are practices. Each action becomes an opportunity to cultivate humility, mindfulness, and compassion. There is no task beneath dignity. When monks sweep the floor, they sweep the floor fully. When they serve food with care. This quality of attention transforms ordinary actions into expressions of respect. Service also trains the mind to let go of self-centered narratives. When you focus solely on personal goals, the mind contracts. When you act for the benefit of others, the mind expands. This expansion brings relief. Many forms of anxiety are rooted in excessive self-focus. Service redirects attention outward in a healthy way. Importantly, Buddhist service is guided by wisdom. Monks do not help blindly. They consider impact. They respect boundaries. They understand that true help empowers rather than controls. This discernment prevents burnout. Service without awareness leads to exhaustion. Service with mindfulness leads to nourishment. Another essential aspect of service is equality. Monks are trained to see no hierarchy of worth. Serving someone is not charity from above. It is an exchange between equals. Today you offer support. Tomorrow you receive it. This humility protects the heart from pride. Service also deepens patience. Working with others inevitably involves friction. Different personalities, expectations, and rhythms collide. Monks use these moments to practice tolerance, communication, and compassion. Each irritation becomes a mirror. Through service, monks learn to meet resistance without hostility. They learn to listen. They learn to adapt. These skills carry into every area of life. Service also reinforces impermanence. Actions are performed without clinging to outcome. You offer what you can and release the result. This prevents disappointment and preserves peace. Another profound effect of service is meaning. When actions contribute to something beyond personal gain, life feels purposeful. Even simple days feel worthwhile. This sense of meaning is deeply stabilizing. You do not need to live in a monastery to practice service. Service can be as simple as listening without interrupting, offering help without announcement, or performing your work with care and integrity. The scale does not matter. The presence does. Begin by noticing opportunities to ease suffering even in small ways. Notice the effect on your mind. Notice how generosity feels when it is not tied to recognition. This habit gradually dissolves the sense of isolation. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that protects service from turning into exhaustion. Balance learning when to act and when to rest, when to engage and when to step back. Without balance, even the most sincere practice becomes a burden. Monks understand this deeply. Balance is not an accessory to the path. It is what allows the path to be walked at all. Without it, effort turns into strain, compassion into depletion, and discipline into rigidity. In Buddhism, balance is expressed through the middle way. The Buddha discovered this principle after years of extreme asceticism. He learned firsthand that indulgence weakens the mind, but so does self-punishment. Truth is not found at either extreme. It is found in attentive moderation. Monks train themselves to sense when effort is skillful and when it becomes force. This sensitivity is cultivated through awareness of the body and mind. Fatigue, irritation, restlessness, and dullness are signals, not failures. They are information. Balance begins with listening. One of the most important forms of balance monks cultivate is between effort and ease. Too little effort leads to stagnation. Too much leads to burnout. The mind needs both structure and softness to grow. Meditation practice reflects this clearly. When concentration is forced, tension arises. When attention is too loose, distraction dominates. Balance is found in gentle persistence. This same principle applies to life. Monks work, study, serve, and practice, but they also rest. Rest is not seen as laziness. It is maintenance of clarity. A mind that never rests loses discernment. In Buddhist teaching, rest is an ethical act. Caring for the body and mind preserves the capacity to act wisely. Ignoring limits leads to harm, not only to oneself, but to others. Balance also applies to emotional life. Monks do not suppress emotion, nor do they indulge it endlessly. They allow emotions to arise, observe them, and respond appropriately. This middle approach prevents repression and overwhelm. When sadness arises, it is met with kindness. When joy arises, it is enjoyed without clinging. When anger arises, it is acknowledged without expression that harms. This emotional balance creates inner stability. Another aspect of balance is knowing when to engage and when to step back. Not every situation requires intervention. Not every conflict needs resolution immediately. Monks cultivate the wisdom to discern timing. Sometimes the most compassionate action is silence. Sometimes it is firm speech. Balance allows this discernment to emerge. This is especially important in service. Without balance, service turns into overgiving. Boundaries dissolve. Resentment builds quietly. Monks learn to serve from fullness, not obligation. They step back when energy is low and return when clarity is restored. This protects compassion from turning into martyrdom. Balance also involves harmonizing solitude and community. Monastic life alternates between periods of solitude, where insight deepens, and periods of community, where compassion is tested and refined. Too much solitude can lead to disconnection. Too much social engagement can scatter the mind. Wisdom lies in rhythm. You can see this rhythm in nature. Day and night, inhale and exhale, growth and rest. Balance aligns life with these natural patterns. Monks attune themselves to this rhythm. In daily life, you can practice balance by noticing extremes. Are you pushing constantly without rest? Are you avoiding effort under the name of peace? Awareness of imbalance is the first step toward correction. Balance is not static. It shifts from moment to moment. What is balanced today may not be balanced tomorrow. This requires continuous attention. This is why balance is a living practice, not a fixed rule. When balance is present, practice feels sustainable. Life feels workable. Challenges are met without collapse. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that sharpens balance and awareness, even further: solitude, not as isolation, but as a space where truth becomes audible. In a world that rarely stops speaking, monks deliberately cultivate silence, not as rejection of life, but as a way of hearing it more clearly. Solitude in Buddhist practice is not loneliness. It is the space where the mind can finally speak without interruption. Most people fear solitude because it removes distraction. When noise fades, thoughts rise. Unresolved emotions surface. Questions long avoided begin to knock. Monks do not run from this. They enter it with awareness. Solitude is where self-deception becomes difficult. When no one is watching, no role needs to be performed. No image must be maintained. In this quiet, the mind reveals its true patterns, its fears, attachments, hopes, and habits. This revelation is not meant to judge, but to understand. Monks learn that understanding arises more easily in stillness. In silence, the mind slows. Without constant input, attention turns inward naturally. You begin to notice subtle tensions in the body, quiet longings in the heart, and repetitive loops in thought. What was once drowned out by noise becomes visible. This visibility is a gift. Solitude allows emotions to complete themselves. Grief that has been postponed can finally be felt. Confusion that was masked by busyness can finally be examined. Joy that was overlooked can finally be savored. Monks use solitude as a mirror. They do not stay there permanently. Solitude is balanced with community. But without regular time alone, insight remains shallow. Without stillness, awareness becomes reactive. Another powerful aspect of solitude is its ability to restore intention. When you step away from expectations and roles, you remember why you practice. You reconnect with values rather than obligations. This clarity strengthens discipline without force. Solitude also reveals dependency. You notice how often you reach for stimulation to avoid discomfort. Phone conversation activity. These habits become visible when they are removed. Seeing them clearly weakens their grip. This does not mean rejecting pleasure. It means no longer needing it to escape yourself. In Buddhist training, even short periods of silence are considered valuable. A few minutes of stillness can recalibrate the mind. Solitude also deepens compassion. When you face your own confusion and vulnerability, honestly, judgment toward others softens. You recognize shared humanity. Harshness loses credibility. Silence teaches humility. Monks also learn that solitude sharpens listening. After time alone, conversations feel richer. Words are chosen more carefully. Presence increases. Silence makes speech meaningful again. You can practice this habit without withdrawing from life. Begin by creating small islands of solitude. Sit quietly without distraction. Walk without headphones. Eat one meal in silence. Let the mind settle. Notice what arises. Do not rush to fix it. This gentle exposure builds trust in your own presence. Solitude is not empty. It is full of information. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that emerges naturally from solitude and balance acceptance, learning to meet life as it is without resignation and without resistance. Acceptance is often misunderstood as giving up. Many people hear the word and imagine passivity, weakness, or resignation. In the monastic tradition, acceptance is none of these. Acceptance is clarity. It is the courage to see reality as it is without distortion and to respond from wisdom rather than denial. The Buddha taught that much of human suffering comes not from pain itself, but from resistance to pain. The mind argues with what has already happened. It wishes the present were different. This inner conflict multiplies distress. Monks train acceptance not to stop acting, but to stop fighting reality. Acceptance begins with recognition. This is happening. This is how it feels. This is what is here now. There is no blame in this recognition. There is no approval either. There is simply honesty. From this honesty, effective action becomes possible. When you refuse to accept a situation, your energy is spent resisting it. When you accept it, energy becomes available to respond. This is why acceptance is not passive. It is the foundation of wise movement. In meditation, acceptance shows itself clearly. Sensations arise: itching discomfort, restlessness. The untrained mind reacts immediately, trying to escape. The trained mind notices and allows. Often the sensation changes on its own. Even when it does not, the struggle softens. This teaches a profound lesson: you can be with discomfort without being consumed by it. Monks carry this lesson into daily life. When disappointment arises, they allow the feeling without collapsing into story. When loss appears, they grieve without bitterness. When uncertainty arises, they acknowledge fear without letting it dictate action. Acceptance does not remove emotion. It removes unnecessary resistance. Another dimension of acceptance is accepting oneself. Many people wage silent wars against who they are, against limitations, habits, or past mistakes. Monks learn to see themselves clearly without hostility. This does not mean refusing to grow. It means beginning growth from truth rather than shame. Change that arises from self-rejection rarely lasts. Change that arises from understanding endures. Acceptance also applies to others. Monks learn that people act according to conditions. Expectations that others should always meet your preferences lead to frustration. Acceptance recognizes difference without surrendering boundaries. You can accept that someone is unkind without accepting unkind treatment. Acceptance clarifies boundaries rather than blurring them. Another powerful aspect of acceptance is letting go of control. Life unfolds according to countless causes beyond personal will. Trying to control everything exhausts the mind. Acceptance acknowledges influence without illusion of mastery. This recognition brings humility and peace. Monks still make effort. They still plan, practice, and act, but they release the demand that reality conform to expectation. This release lightens the heart. Acceptance also deepens compassion. When you stop judging your own pain, you stop judging others' pain. Understanding replaces blame. Kindness becomes more natural. One simple practice monks use is naming experience gently. This is sadness. This is fear. Naming brings distance. Distance brings calm. You can practice acceptance in small ways. When something goes wrong today, pause. Notice the impulse to resist, then gently acknowledge what is present. Breathe. Ask what response serves wisdom now. Acceptance is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of effective effort. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that strengthens acceptance and resilience: letting go. Releasing attachment not only to possessions, but to identities, stories, and expectations. Letting go is one of the most repeated phrases in Buddhist teaching, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Many imagine letting go as loss, emptiness, or weakness. In monastic life, letting go is experienced as relief. It is the release of unnecessary weight the mind has been carrying for years. The Buddha taught that attachment, not possessions themselves, but clinging to them, is the root of suffering. Monks learn to observe attachment carefully, not to condemn it, but to understand its cost. Attachment is not always obvious. It can attach to comfort, to identity, to being right, to being admired, to being needed. It can attach to pain, to old stories, to resentment. The mind clings to what is familiar, even when it hurts. Letting go begins with awareness. Monks are trained to notice where the mind tightens. Where there is grasping, fear follows. Where there is fear, suffering grows. Seeing this chain clearly weakens it. Letting go is not forced. Trying to rip attachment away only strengthens resistance. Instead, monks observe attachment until its impermanence becomes obvious. When you see that what you are clinging to is changing anyway, release becomes natural. This is why insight precedes liberation. In meditation, letting go is practiced moment by moment. A thought arises. Instead of following it, you release it. An emotion appears. You feel it without clinging. A sensation intensifies. You allow it to change. Each release trains the mind. Over time, this practice extends beyond the cushion. You begin to notice attachment in daily life, the urge to defend an opinion, the need to control an outcome, the fear of being misunderstood. Instead of acting immediately, you pause. In that pause, choice returns. Letting go also applies to identity. Much suffering comes from rigid self-concepts. This is who I am. This should not change. Monks learn to see identity as a process rather than a possession. Roles, traits, and stories shift over time. When identity is held lightly, criticism hurts less. Change becomes possible. Growth accelerates. Another area of letting go is expectation. Expectations shape experience. When reality aligns, satisfaction arises. When it does not, frustration follows. Monks practice acting with intention while releasing expectation of result. This balance preserves peace. You still care, you still act, but you no longer demand. Life becomes less of a negotiation and more of a participation. Letting go also transforms grief. Grief is not clinging. It is love meeting impermanence. Monks allow grief fully. They let tears come, but they release the belief that things should not have changed. This release does not erase love. It purifies it. Another subtle form of letting go is releasing the need to be right. Being right can become an identity. Defending it consumes energy and creates division. Monks value truth over victory. They let go of arguments that feed ego rather than understanding. This humility strengthens relationships. Letting go is also deeply connected to trust. When you release control, you trust the unfolding of life. This trust is not blind faith. It is grounded in observation. Everything changes anyway. Resisting this fact adds pain. Flowing with it reduces it. This trust brings ease. You do not need to let go of everything at once. Begin with one small attachment. Notice how it feels in the body. Observe the thoughts around it. Then soften your grip slightly. See what happens. Often nothing collapses. Instead, space opens. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that grows from letting go contentment, finding peace not in having more, but in wanting less. Contentment is one of the quiet miracles of monastic life. It does not announce itself loudly, and it is often invisible to a world obsessed with accumulation. Yet contentment is one of the deepest sources of peace. Monks cultivate a peace that does not depend on circumstances, improving possessions, increasing, or recognition arriving. In Buddhism, contentment is not complacency. It is clarity about sufficiency. The Buddha taught that craving is endless. When one desire is fulfilled, another takes its place. The mind that believes happiness lives just beyond the next achievement is never at rest. Monks learn to step out of this cycle not by rejecting life, but by understanding desire. Contentment arises when desire is seen clearly rather than obeyed automatically. Monks observe how the mind leans forward toward the next comfort, the next success, the next distraction. They notice the subtle dissatisfaction that exists even when things go well. This observation is not cynical. It is honest. From this honesty, freedom grows. Contentment means recognizing when enough is enough, Food sustains the body. Shelter protects it. Companionship supports the heart. Beyond this excess often adds complexity rather than joy. Monks simplify not because they must, but because they see how little is actually required for well-being. This realization is deeply liberating. When you are content, you are no longer pushed by constant wanting. Decisions become cleaner. Motivation becomes healthier. You act because something is meaningful, not because you are trying to fill an inner lack. Contentment also stabilizes the mind. Without constant craving, attention settles. Anxiety decreases. Comparison loses power. You stop measuring your life against imagined alternatives and begin living the one in front of you. Monks cultivate contentment through mindful appreciation. They take time to notice simple satisfactions: a warm robe, a quiet morning, a shared meal, a steady breath. These moments are not rushed past. They are received fully. This reception trains the mind to recognize richness in simplicity. Contentment also protects against despair. When life becomes difficult, a content mind does not collapse. It remembers what remains intact. Even in loss, there is awareness. Even in pain, there is breath. Even in uncertainty, there is presence. This perspective does not deny hardship. It prevents it from becoming total. Another important aspect of contentment is gratitude without comparison. You appreciate what you have without turning it into a standard for others. Contentment is personal. It arises from alignment with your own values, not from outperforming someone else. Monks learn to release the habit of measuring. Measurement feeds dissatisfaction. Comparison fuels envy. Contentment dissolves both. Contentment also changes how monks relate to success. When success comes, it is enjoyed without intoxication. When it leaves, it is released without devastation. Identity is not built on outcomes. This emotional stability is rare and powerful. Contentment does not kill ambition. It purifies it. Ambition guided by contentment seeks expression rather than validation. It aims to contribute rather than dominate. It becomes sustainable. You can begin cultivating contentment by noticing moments when wanting relaxes. Notice when you feel okay without adding anything. Notice when silence feels complete. Notice when effort feels enough. Let these moments register. Over time, the mind learns a new pattern. Peace does not always require improvement. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that supports contentment and clarity humility, seeing oneself accurately without inflation or self-denial. Humility is often mistaken for low self-esteem or self-erasure. In the monastic tradition, humility is neither. It is accurate self-seeing. It is the freedom that comes from no longer needing to inflate or defend an identity. The Buddha taught that much suffering arises from clinging to a fixed sense of self. Pride and shame are two sides of the same illusion. Both depend on a rigid me that must be protected or proven. Humility loosens this grip. Monks cultivate humility by observing the mind closely. They notice how quickly the ego claims credit and deflects blame, how it seeks recognition and fears insignificance. Seeing this pattern repeatedly weakens its authority. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It is about thinking of yourself less. When self-centered thoughts lose dominance, attention opens. You see others more clearly. You listen more deeply. You learn more easily. This openness is the gift of humility. Monks also cultivate humility through remembering interdependence. Nothing arises alone. Every skill, insight, or achievement is supported by countless conditions: teachers, culture, health, timing, effort, and luck. Recognizing this dissolves arrogance naturally. Gratitude grows where humility lives. Humility also protects learning. When you believe you already know, growth stops. When you recognize the limits of understanding, curiosity remains alive. Monks approach practice as beginners again and again. This beginner's mind is essential. It allows mistakes to become teachers rather than threats. It keeps the path fresh. Humility also transforms relationships. Without the need to dominate or impress, connection deepens. Conversations become exchanges rather than performances. Conflict becomes less personal. Humility does not silence your voice. It clarifies it. You speak when it serves understanding, not ego. You listen when listening serves wisdom. Another aspect of humility is accepting correction. Monks value feedback. They see it as information, not insult. When correction arrives, they examine it honestly. If it is useful, they integrate it. If not, they release it. This flexibility preserves peace. Humility also guards against spiritual pride. As insight grows, subtle arrogance can arise. I am more aware. I am more evolved. Monks are taught to watch for this carefully. Awareness itself does not belong to anyone. Insight is not owned. It flows. This understanding keeps practice grounded. Humility also allows compassion to deepen. When you no longer place yourself above others, their suffering feels closer. Empathy becomes natural. Service becomes equal. This equality strengthens community. You can practice humility by noticing defensive reactions. When pride flares or shame contracts, pause. Observe the impulse to protect identity. Remember impermanence. Remember interdependence. This remembrance softens the grip of self-importance. Humility does not weaken you. It frees energy previously spent maintaining an image. That energy becomes available for presence, care, and wisdom. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that builds on humility and contentment. Trust, learning to trust the path, the practice, and the unfolding of life itself. Trust is not something monks adopt blindly. It is something that grows naturally from seeing clearly. When you observe life long enough, its rhythms, its changes, its causes and effects, you begin to trust the process, even when outcomes remain uncertain. In Buddhism, trust is not belief without evidence. It is confidence born of experience. Monks do not trust that life will always be comfortable. They trust that whatever arises can be met with awareness. This distinction is crucial. One is expectation. The other is stability. Trust begins with trusting the practice. When monks sit in meditation day after day, progress is often subtle. There are periods of clarity and periods of stagnation. Without trust, discouragement takes over. With trust, effort continues without forcing results. This trust is grounded in patience. You water the seed without demanding the fruit immediately. You show up because showing up matters, not because reward is guaranteed. Trust also extends to the mind. Monks learn that thoughts and emotions pass on their own when not interfered with. This builds trust in natural resolution. You do not need to fix everything. Some things unwind by themselves when given space. This understanding reduces anxiety. Another dimension of trust is trusting impermanence. At first glance, impermanence can feel threatening, but monks come to see it as a reassurance. No state lasts forever. Pain will change. Confusion will shift. Even intense suffering moves. This trust gives courage. When you know that nothing is fixed, you can face difficulty without despair. You do not need to escape the moment. You can stay. Trust also applies to ethical action. Monks trust that acting with kindness and integrity leads to peace even when immediate results are unclear. They do not require instant validation. The action itself is sufficient. This trust stabilizes behavior. Another important aspect of trust is trusting not knowing. The mind often wants certainty. It wants clear answers and predictable outcomes. Buddhism teaches comfort with uncertainty. Monks learn to rest in questions without rushing to closure. This openness allows deeper understanding to emerge. Trust in not knowing reduces control. You stop forcing life into categories. You allow discovery. This makes insight possible. Trust also deepens relationships. When you trust others' capacity to learn and grow, you become less controlling. You offer guidance without domination. You allow space. This trust strengthens connection. You can cultivate trust by noticing small confirmations. Notice how emotions pass when observed. Notice how effort compounds over time. Notice how clarity returns after confusion. These experiences build confidence. Trust does not mean ignoring wisdom or discernment. Monks remain attentive and responsive. Trust simply removes panic from the process. Life becomes a path rather than a threat. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that grows naturally from trust and humility. Forgiveness, releasing resentment, not for others, but for your own freedom. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as something you offer for the sake of others. In the monastic understanding, forgiveness is something you practice for the sake of freedom. It is the act of laying down a burden that was never meant to be carried forever. The Buddha taught that holding on to anger is like grasping a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned first. Monks take this teaching seriously, not as a moral command, but as a practical truth. Resentment poisons the mind. It replays the past, tightens the body, and narrows perception. Even when the original harm is gone, resentment keeps the wound alive. Forgiveness is the decision to stop feeding this cycle. Forgiveness does not mean denial. Monks do not pretend that harm did not occur. They do not excuse cruelty or forget boundaries. Forgiveness begins with acknowledging pain fully without minimizing it. Only what is faced can be released. Monks are taught to sit with anger gently, to feel it in the body, to observe its thoughts, and to see how it changes. When anger is fully understood, it loses its grip. Forgiveness arises not as an idea, but as a natural letting go. Another essential insight monks cultivate is this: people act from conditions. Harmful actions often arise from ignorance, fear, and suffering. Seeing this does not make harm acceptable, but it makes hatred unnecessary. When understanding replaces blame, the heart softens. Forgiveness becomes possible. Forgiving others also requires forgiving oneself. Many people carry silent guilt over past mistakes, missed opportunities, or words spoken in ignorance. This self-directed resentment drains vitality. Monks practice self-forgiveness by recognizing impermanence. You are not the same person you were then. Learning has occurred. Awareness has grown. Holding on to old identity only freezes growth. Forgiveness is closely linked to compassion. When you see suffering beneath behavior, your own and others, the urge to punish weakens. Compassion does not justify harm. It simply refuses to add more. Monks often practice forgiveness through reflection. They may silently acknowledge harm received and harm given, offering goodwill in both directions. To those I have harmed knowingly or unknowingly, may forgiveness arise. To those who have harmed me, may understanding arise. This practice cleans the heart. Forgiveness also restores energy. The energy tied up in resentment becomes available for presence, creativity, and care. Life feels lighter not because nothing bad happened, but because you are no longer reliving it. Forgiveness is not a single event. It is a process. Some wounds require repeated release. Each time resentment returns, monks treat it with patience rather than frustration. Release deepens gradually. This patience protects the practice. Forgiveness also strengthens resilience. When you no longer carry the past as a weapon against yourself or others, you meet the present with clarity. You respond rather than react. This responsiveness is freedom. You can begin practicing forgiveness in small ways. Notice minor resentments. See how they feel in the body. Ask yourself what holding on to them costs. Then gently consider letting them go, not to excuse, but to be free. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength refined by wisdom. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that deepens forgiveness and trust presence, learning to inhabit each moment fully without regret or anticipation. Presence is the ground on which all monastic habits stand. Without presence, discipline becomes mechanical, compassion becomes theoretical, and wisdom remains distant. With presence, even the simplest moment becomes complete. The Buddha taught that liberation is not found in the past or the future, but in direct awareness of what is happening now. Monks return to this truth again and again, not as an idea, but as a lived experience. Most suffering lives outside the present moment. Regret pulls the mind backward. Worry pulls it forward. Very rarely is distress rooted in what is actually happening right now. Presence brings the mind home. To be present is not to escape thought, but to see thought clearly. Monks do not try to eliminate thinking. They observe it. Thoughts arise, pass, and dissolve like ripples on water. When you stop chasing them, they lose authority. Presence reveals that you are not your thoughts. This realization is deeply freeing. In daily monastic life, presence is practiced continuously. Walking is just walking. Eating is just eating. Listening is just listening. Nothing is rushed toward something else. Each activity is complete in itself. This completeness quiets craving. When you are fully present, there is no gap to fill. You are not waiting for the next moment to feel satisfied. Satisfaction exists now. Presence also deepens sensitivity. You notice subtle shifts in mood, tension in the body, changes in breath. This awareness allows early response. Stress is addressed before it becomes overwhelm. Emotion is met before it turns reactive. Monks learn to treat attention as sacred. Where attention goes, life goes. Scattered attention leads to scattered living. Collected attention leads to coherence. This is why mindfulness is trained so carefully. Presence also transforms relationships. When you are fully present with another person, you offer something rare, undivided attention. This presence communicates respect without words. It allows others to feel seen. Listening becomes an act of compassion. Presence also softens conflict. Instead of reacting to remembered grievances or imagined futures, you respond to what is actually being said now. Misunderstandings dissolve more easily. Clarity emerges. Another dimension of presence is embodiment. Monks learn to return to the body when the mind becomes agitated. Sensation anchors awareness. Breath stabilizes attention. The body becomes a refuge. This embodied presence grounds insight. Presence also reveals impermanence directly. Each moment arises and fades. Seeing this repeatedly loosens attachment naturally. You do not need to force letting go. The moment lets go for you. This flow reduces fear. Presence also changes the experience of time. Time feels less pressured. Urgency softens. You still act, but without panic. Life feels spacious. You can practice presence simply. Pause. Notice your breath. Feel your body. Hear sounds without labeling. Let the moment be enough. Do this often. Presence is not something to achieve. It is something to return to. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that strengthens presence and wisdom, simplicity of thought, learning to untangle the mind from unnecessary complexity. The mind suffers not only from pain, but from complexity. Monks understand that much inner turmoil comes from overthinking layer upon layer of interpretation, judgment, anticipation, and self-criticism. Simplicity of thought is not intellectual dullness. It is clarity stripped of excess. The Buddha taught that suffering multiplies when the mind adds stories to experience. A sensation becomes a problem. A feeling becomes an identity. A moment becomes a narrative about the self. Monks learn to interrupt this habit by returning to what is simple and direct. Simplicity of thought begins with seeing things as they are. A sound is a sound. A sensation is a sensation. A thought is a thought. When the mind stops elaborating, experience becomes lighter. You are no longer carrying interpretations that were never required. This simplicity is deeply calming. Monks train this habit through mindfulness. When a thought arises, they notice it without following it. They do not argue with it or suppress it. They let it pass. Over time, the mind learns that it does not need to comment on everything. Silence grows between thoughts. This silence is not empty. It is intelligent. It holds awareness without clutter. Simplicity of thought also means reducing mental comparison. Comparison adds layers of unnecessary evaluation, better or worse, ahead or behind, enough or not enough. Monks notice how comparison fuels restlessness. They return to direct experience where comparison has no foothold. Here, breath is just breath. Step is just step. Simplicity also applies to problem solving. The mind often tries to solve imagined futures or replay the past endlessly. Monks learn to ask a simple question: what needs attention now? This question cuts through distraction. Often the answer is small and manageable. By addressing what is present rather than what is imagined, overwhelm dissolves. Another aspect of simplicity of thought is letting go of unnecessary opinions. Opinions can become mental noise. The need to judge everything drains energy. Monks practice non-commentary, allowing experience without constant mental verdicts. This does not remove discernment. It refines it. When discernment is needed, it is clear. When it is not, the mind rests. Simplicity also supports humility. When you admit that not everything needs to be understood or explained, the mind relaxes. Mystery becomes acceptable. Curiosity replaces control. This openness allows deeper insight. Simplicity of thought also deepens compassion. When you stop overanalyzing others' actions, you see behavior more directly. Misunderstandings decrease. You respond to what is happening rather than to assumptions. This clarity reduces conflict. You can cultivate this habit by noticing mental clutter. When thoughts multiply, pause. Ask, what is actually happening right now? Return to sensation. Return to breath. Let the unnecessary fall away. You do not need to solve everything. Life becomes lighter when the mind becomes simpler. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that protects this simplicity: restraint, not repression, but wise moderation that preserves clarity and peace. Restraint is often misunderstood as suppression or denial. In the monastic tradition, restraint is neither harsh nor joyless. It is a form of intelligence, a knowing of when enough is enough, and a willingness to stop before the mind becomes entangled. The Buddha taught that freedom does not come from indulging every desire, nor from fighting desire aggressively. It comes from understanding desire and choosing wisely. Restraint is the practical expression of this understanding. Monks practice restraint to protect clarity. Every sense impression leaves a trace. Without restraint, the mind becomes overstimulated, scattered, and restless. With restraint, attention remains steady. Insight becomes possible. This restraint is gentle. When a desire arises, monks do not immediately obey or reject it. They observe it. They notice its texture, its urgency, its promises. Often, the desire weakens simply by being seen. This observation builds freedom. Restraint also teaches delayed gratification. The mind learns that it does not need to act on every impulse. It can wait. It can choose. This ability strengthens discipline without force. Over time, impulses lose authority. Restraint is especially important in speech. Monks are trained to notice the urge to speak unnecessarily, to fill silence, to assert identity, to discharge emotion. By restraining speech when it does not serve truth or kindness, the mind remains clean. Silence becomes spacious rather than awkward. Restraint also applies to consumption. Not all food media or information supports clarity. Monks limit intake not because these things are bad, but because excess dulls awareness. Moderation preserves sensitivity. Another form of restraint is emotional restraint. This does not mean suppressing feeling. It means not acting out of raw emotion. Anger may arise, but it is not immediately expressed. Desire may arise, but it is not immediately gratified. This pause creates wisdom. Restraint also protects relationships. When you do not act impulsively, you reduce harm. Trust grows. Communication improves. Conflicts become less destructive. Restraint is deeply connected to self-respect. When you choose wisely, you experience dignity. You feel aligned. You trust yourself more. This trust strengthens confidence. Restraint also conserves energy. Every impulse acted upon drains attention. Every unnecessary reaction costs vitality. By restraining what is not needed, energy becomes available for what matters. This makes life more sustainable. You can practice restraint in small ways. Pause before speaking. Pause before consuming. Pause before reacting. Ask whether this action supports clarity and compassion. Often restraint feels like relief. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that works hand in hand with restraint devotion, not as blind belief, but as wholehearted commitment to a path of awakening. Devotion in the monastic tradition is not blind faith or unquestioning obedience. It is the steady offering of one's energy, attention, and sincerity to a path that leads toward awakening. Devotion gives practice its heart. The Buddha never asked for belief without inquiry. He asked for investigation, experience, and verification. Monastic devotion grows from this inquiry. It is trust refined by understanding. Devotion is commitment. When monks wake before dawn to meditate, chant, or serve, devotion is what carries them through fatigue and doubt. It is not enthusiasm alone. Enthusiasm rises and falls. Devotion remains. This devotion is directed toward practice, not ego. Monks devote themselves to awareness, compassion, and liberation, not to personal greatness. This orientation keeps motivation clean. Devotion also stabilizes discipline. Without devotion, discipline becomes brittle. It relies on willpower alone. With devotion, discipline becomes an offering. Effort feels meaningful rather than forced. This transforms struggle into purpose. Another dimension of devotion is reverence. Monks cultivate reverence for wisdom, for teachers, for the path itself. Reverence is not worship of authority. It is respect for truth. It acknowledges that awakening is larger than personal preference. Reverence humbles the mind. Devotion also creates continuity. When motivation fades, devotion sustains practice. When results are invisible, devotion persists. This continuity allows deep change to occur. Devotion is especially important during difficulty. When practice feels dry, confusing, or challenging, devotion keeps the heart open. Instead of quitting, monks return gently. They trust the process even when clarity is absent. This patience ripens insight. Devotion also supports surrender. Surrender does not mean passivity. It means releasing the illusion that the ego controls awakening. Monks surrender outcomes while maintaining effort. This balance prevents burnout. Devotion is expressed through ritual reflection and consistency. Chanting, bowing, and daily practice are not empty forms. They train the heart to show up fully. They remind the practitioner of intention and direction. Devotion also deepens gratitude. When you devote yourself to a path, you recognize how much it gives in return: clarity, peace, and understanding. Gratitude strengthens commitment. You can cultivate devotion without religious identity. Devotion can be directed toward truth awareness or compassion. It is simply wholehearted engagement with what matters most. Begin by asking, what am I willing to show up for, even when it is difficult? Let the answer guide practice. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that completes devotion: surrender to reality, learning to stop fighting life and start moving with it. Surrender is often mistaken for defeat. In the monastic path, surrender is strength refined to its quietest form. It is the moment when resistance ends and intelligence begins to flow. Surrender does not mean giving up on life. It means giving up the struggle against what already is. The Buddha taught that suffering is intensified by clinging to control, to identity, to outcomes. Monks learn surrender not as passivity, but as alignment with reality. Reality does not need permission to unfold. When monks surrender, they stop arguing with life. They stop demanding that experience conform to preference. This does not remove difficulty, but it removes inner conflict. Surrender begins with honesty. This is happening. This is how it feels. This is beyond my control. These acknowledgments are not statements of helplessness. They are statements of clarity. From clarity, wise action becomes possible. Without surrender, effort becomes frantic. The mind exhausts itself, trying to manage everything: how others behave, how the future unfolds, how the past should have gone. Surrender releases this burden. Energy returns. Monks still act. They still practice discipline, compassion, and effort, but they act without inner resistance. This makes action more effective. Surrender also deepens peace. When you stop fighting experience, the nervous system settles, the body softens, breath deepens. Even pain feels different when it is not resisted. This peace is not numbness, it is openness. Surrender also reveals trust. Trust that life unfolds according to causes and conditions far larger than personal will. Trust that you can meet what arises with awareness. Trust that not knowing is not failure. Monks learn to rest in this trust. Another dimension of surrender is releasing the need to be special. The ego wants exceptionalism, success, recognition, certainty. Surrender releases this demand. You become one expression of life among many, neither inflated nor diminished. This humility is freeing. Surrender also applies to spiritual practice itself. Monks learn that awakening cannot be forced. Striving too hard creates tension. Surrender allows insight to arise naturally when conditions are ripe. You show up, you practice, then you let go. This rhythm is essential. Surrender also transforms suffering. When pain is met without resistance, it becomes workable. You feel it fully, but it does not define you. You move with it rather than against it. This movement creates resilience. You can practice surrender in small moments. Notice where you are tense. Ask what you are trying to control. Gently release that effort. Breathe. Allow the moment to be as it is. Often relief follows. Surrender does not make you weak. It makes you fluid. Like water, you adapt without losing essence. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that arises from surrender and devotion. Faith in practice, not belief in ideas, but confidence born from direct experience. Faith in the monastic path is not belief borrowed from others. It is confidence grown from direct experience. The Buddha repeatedly emphasized this distinction. Do not accept teachings because they are ancient, revered, or spoken by authority. Test them in your own life. Monastic faith is experiential. It begins small. You sit in meditation and notice that the mind settles when you stop chasing thoughts. You practice kindness and observe how conflict softens. You let go of resentment and feel the body relax. These moments accumulate. From them, trust is born. This kind of faith is quiet. It does not argue. It does not need to convince. It rests in knowing. Monks cultivate faith by paying close attention to cause and effect. When intention is careless, agitation follows. When intention is kind, peace arises. This pattern repeats itself until doubt weakens. Faith becomes grounded, not emotional. Faith also stabilizes effort. Without faith, practice feels like an experiment that may or may not work. With faith, effort feels worthwhile, even when results are subtle. You continue, not because you are certain of outcomes, but because you trust the direction. This trust removes desperation. Faith also protects the heart during difficulty. When practice feels stagnant or life becomes painful, faith reminds monks that growth is not always visible. Roots deepen underground before anything appears above the surface. This patience prevents discouragement. Another aspect of faith is confidence in awareness itself. Monks learn that awareness can meet any experience without being destroyed by it. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations arise and pass within awareness. Awareness remains. This recognition is deeply reassuring. Faith also dissolves fear of uncertainty. You do not need to know what will happen next to remain steady. You trust your capacity to respond wisely. This confidence allows you to move forward without clinging to guarantees. Faith does not eliminate doubt entirely. It contextualizes it. Doubt becomes a question rather than an obstacle. It invites investigation rather than paralysis. Monks welcome doubt as part of learning, not as a failure of devotion. This openness keeps faith flexible. Faith also deepens humility. Because it is based on experience, not ideology, it remains open to correction. Monks do not cling to beliefs when evidence changes. They refine understanding continuously. This adaptability protects wisdom. You can cultivate this kind of faith by noticing what actually helps. Observe which actions bring clarity and which bring agitation. Trust patterns that repeat. Let experience guide confidence. Faith grows naturally when attention is honest. In the next part, we will explore another monastic habit that arises from faith and surrender perseverance, continuing the path steadily, even when progress feels slow or invisible. Perseverance is not dramatic. It does not shout or demand recognition. In monastic life, perseverance is quiet continuity. the willingness to return again and again, regardless of mood, circumstance, or visible progress. The Buddha compared spiritual practice to carving a stone with a drop of water. One drop changes nothing. Thousands of drops reshape the stone. Monks understand this deeply. Transformation is cumulative. Perseverance means showing up. You meditate even when the mind feels dull. You practice kindness even when it is inconvenient. You return to awareness after distraction, not once, but endlessly. This returning is the practice. Perseverance is sustained by humility. Monks do not expect instant results. They understand that the mind has been conditioned for years, sometimes decades. Change unfolds gradually. Expecting otherwise creates frustration. Patience and perseverance are inseparable. Perseverance also requires compassion. Harshness does not last. Self-criticism exhausts effort. Monks persevere by treating themselves with kindness, especially when they falter. Failure becomes instruction rather than condemnation. Another key aspect of perseverance is consistency. Intensity comes and goes. Consistency remains. Small daily effort reshapes character more effectively than occasional bursts of enthusiasm. Monks value rhythm over heroics. Perseverance also means practicing in all conditions. Practice does not stop when life becomes busy, painful, or uncertain. In fact, these moments become the practice. Awareness adapts. Compassion deepens. Wisdom matures. This integration strengthens resilience. Perseverance is supported by remembering intention. When motivation fades, monks return to why they practice, not for reward, but for freedom from suffering. This remembrance re-anchors effort. Perseverance also includes knowing when to rest. Pushing blindly is not perseverance, it is force. Monks rest when needed and resume when ready. This balance keeps effort sustainable. Perseverance ultimately builds trust in yourself. Each time you return, confidence grows. You learn that you do not abandon yourself. This trust becomes a stable foundation. Perseverance does not guarantee a smooth path. It guarantees a path that continues. You can practice perseverance by committing to small, repeatable actions, a few minutes of awareness each day, a moment of kindness, a pause before reacting. These are not insignificant. They are transformative. In the final part, we will bring all these monastic habits together and reflect on what it truly means to live your best life, not by becoming someone else, but by fully becoming who you already are. Living your best life in the monastic understanding has never been about becoming extraordinary in the eyes of the world. It has always been about becoming intimate with reality, seeing clearly, responding wisely, and living without unnecessary struggle. After all the habits we have explored, discipline, patience, compassion, restraint, surrender, faith, perseverance, a single thread runs through them all, awakening to how life actually works. Monks do not seek perfection. They seek freedom. Freedom from compulsive reactions. Freedom from endless wanting. Freedom from the belief that happiness lies somewhere else, sometime later. The habits of monks are not rigid rules. They are supports. Each one gently removes a layer of confusion, revealing what has always been present beneath the noise: awareness, peace, and the capacity to love without clinging. To live well according to Buddhist wisdom is to live aligned. Aligned with impermanence rather than fighting it. Aligned with compassion rather than judgment. Aligned with simplicity rather than excess. Aligned with presence rather than distraction. When alignment is present, life does not need to be forced. You begin to trust your own experience. You learn to listen to the body, to the heart, to the moment itself. You stop measuring your life against impossible standards and start inhabiting it fully. The monk's greatest secret is not withdrawal from the world. It is intimacy with it. They walk slowly, not because they have nowhere to go, but because they are already here. They speak carefully, not because words are dangerous, but because words shape minds. They let go, not because they do not care, but because caring without clinging is the deepest form of love. You do not need robes, rituals, or isolation to live this way. You need awareness. You need honesty. You need the willingness to return again and again to what is real. Each moment offers this opportunity. When you notice your breath, you are practicing presence. When you pause before reacting, you are practicing restraint. When you forgive, you are practicing freedom. When you persist gently, you are practicing trust. The path is not elsewhere. It is unfolding where you are. As the Buddha taught, the way out of suffering is not through becoming someone new, but through understanding deeply who you already are and letting go of what you are not. May these habits serve not as ideals to chase, but as companions on your path. May they help you live with clarity, courage, and compassion. And may you discover that the best version of yourself is not waiting in the future. It is revealed moment by moment when you stop resisting the present.